Good evening and welcome to the Minnesota Twins team preview show. I'm Joey Buckholtz, and I just realized that we're competing with American Idol, so it's got to be a good show. Ryan Seacrest is a household name. I want to be a household name too at some point, so we're gonna do our best to be entertaining for you tonight. We're going to preview the Minnesota Twins Utopian Baseball Universe roster. I'm bringing on a gentleman who I have known, and I hate using the word literally, but I've literally known this man his whole life. I was in his house the day his mom went into labor, as his older brother is my oldest friend in the world. He is a huge Twins fan, so we're gonna bring him on right now to talk a little bit of Minnesota Twins history. His name is Justin Fefer. Welcome to the show, Justin.
Hello.
So I like telling the story. This was obviously before the internet and 900 numbers and the such, but I was in your parents' home. Andy and I were playing. I still call him Andy, by the way. I was grandfathered into that. I get to still call him that. We were playing bowling on Atari in your parents' room when I guess your mom went into labor, and I remember your dad. He was very stern. He's like, "Joey's got to go. The baby's coming," and you ended up being said baby, and now you have a full beard. How does that work?
I feel pretty honored. I mean, there's not every day that, you can say that you have a baseball celebrity at your house the day that you were born.
Am I a baseball celebrity?
I mean, in my eyes, definitely, Joey.
Well, and it's funny because that was 39 years ago, and now I have a fantasy football Hall of Famer on my baseball show. Isn't that funny how it works?
It's another honor. I've definitely loved my time as a fantasy football owner in your leagues, and that's how I got my start with fantasy football. To be honest, I've come up from a young pup, not really understanding how to put together a fantasy football roster to winning a championship, and now we can sit and talk about the Twins as well.
I just realized, I'm doing the math in my head, you were 15 when you joined my league.
This is true.
I just it's weird because we used to Andy and I were actually talking about this about a week ago. We recorded the first 5 drafts. We had actually Andy actually recorded the first 2 drafts for me on a handheld camcorder, and then my friend Phil recorded 1 or 2 of them, and one of them was your first draft in 1997, and you were 15 years old.
It's been almost a lifetime of fantasy football with you as the commissioner.
You are for all intents and purposes, you are the only child star in the history of my league. I mean, we've had younger players, but none of them went on to become Hall of Famers. So you were in a sense like the Scott Baio.
I don't know if I want to be the Scott.
No, you don't. Nobody wants to be the Scott Baio of anything. I'm trying to think of a better example. You were the I don't know who's a child star that people like these days.
Leonardo DiCaprio.
You were yes. You got that start. That guest spot on Growing Pains. Yes, that's a good example.
I'll take that.
You were the Leonardo DiCaprio. So yeah, you went on to do Titanic and do big things. But anyway, so you grew up or you were born in the Milwaukee area, and that's how I got to meet you. When you were 5 years old, you moved to Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
And tell us about, and I guess at what point did you start becoming a baseball fan, and And were you conflicted, having come from Milwaukee and now you're in Minnesota? Because I know you're a Twins fan, but I know you still have a soft spot for the Brewers. So tell me what that was like growing up in Minnesota.
Yeah, for sure. So like I said, moved when I was 5, and it happened to be the year the Twins won the World Series in 1987. Now, I don't, particularly remember a whole lot of that specific season. I do remember that, around 5, 6, 7 years old is when I, started to get into baseball, and definitely my first love in terms of sports. And, when you're about that age, that's kind of when you tend to pick a team, right? And all my friends were Twins fans. I started to play T-ball. The coach liked the Twins. Everybody liked the Twins. So I'm gonna like the Twins too. And my brother and my family were Brewers fans, of course. And from those young ages, I wasn't that into the Brewers. I mean, they were kind of a bit of a division rival, if you will. And,
sure.
And I didn't remember Milwaukee all that much at that age, and so I was a Minnesotan in my head. And, you kind of continue to grow, and we actually ended up moving back to the Milwaukee area right before I went to high school. And so, from 5 to 14, I developed my allegiances, the Twins, the Vikings, the Timberwolves. And, coming back there, I wanted to hold strong to who I grew up with. But, over time, living in Milwaukee, I can represent a Milwaukee team. I can cheer for a Milwaukee team. And let me tell you, those Brewers teams were pretty rough. When we moved back in the late 90s there. Ooh. But it was still, great baseball coming back to County Stadium and then Miller Park and so I'll still cheer for the Brewers. I love the Brewers. I'll cheer for the Bucks. I'll cheer for the Bucks any day of the week. I'll cheer for any Minnesota team, but that's kind of where it ends for me.
Not a Packers fan, correct?
No, sir.
No, sir.
I have held my ground for almost 39 full years. I don't think I'm going to switch anytime soon. I spent 17 some odd years in Wisconsin and Milwaukee in a time where I could have switched. When we moved back is when, Brett Favre was starting to get good. And actually they won the Super Bowl in 96.
Yeah, the 96 season. They won it in January of 97, I believe.
We moved back there in 96. So I could have very easily switched my allegiances, but no, I'm true to my loyalties.
Now, you and I have something in common in the fact that when I just turned 11 years old when my team won the World Series, and your team won the World Series when you were 9. So share some of your best memories of the Twins winning it all in 91.
In 91 was amazing. At 9 years old, I mean, you're prime time for having a team that is good and is going to, work their way through the playoffs. And the 91 team was one of those teams that, I don't think anybody was picking them at the beginning of the year to win the World Series, but they, were a scrappy bunch and worked their way through. And I can definitely remember, I believe it was game 4 or game 5. It was midweek game, and I had a haircut scheduled. And now my mom, who understood the importance of watching game 4, game 5 of the World Series, she was like, we gotta go get your haircut. And I was like, gotta get my haircut. I'm trying to watch the World Series. I'm not rescheduling this haircut. And so she took me to get my haircut. I whined and kicked and moaned. Luckily, at the salon, they had a radio, and they put on the World Series for me so I could listen while I was getting my haircut. And I remember rushing back home after the haircut because it was like, the 8th inning, and I was like, I can't miss what's going on. got back in time to see the end of the game, but I'll never forget that World Series for the haircut, and then obviously it's the greatest World Series in the history of World Series.
I mean, and again, I've gone on record. You can find it somewhere in the interwebs. For my money, Game 7 of the 91 series is the greatest game of all time. Morris versus Smoltz. But Game 6 might be in the top 10. I mean, the way Puckett with the walk-off against Lee Brandt. Was that? I'm trying to think. I think the first 2 times it happened where the home team won every game in the World Series was Twins.
Yep.
It happened in 87. It happened in 91. I think the next time it happened, or the only other time it happened, I think was 01, if I'm not mistaken. And then in, I think, 2019, the road team won every game between Houston and Washington.
Yeah.
Game 7, I didn't have a horse in the race. I wasn't a Braves fan or a Twins fan. I was rooting for the Twins. Only because I think when I was a kid, I remember when we got cable, I was asking, the cable guy saw that I had a glove on, and he was highlighting all the games on the TV guide. And it was Braves, Cubs, Mets, or Cubs, Braves, Mets, Cubs, Braves, Mets, Cubs, Mets, Cubs, Braves. And I remember my grandma telling me that the Braves used to be in Milwaukee. And left for Atlanta. So, like, from a young age, I never really rooted for the Atlanta Braves because I thought, well, they broke our hearts. I'm not going to root for that team.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever the Braves were in the World Series, I rooted against them. And then, being a Mets fan, how can you root for the Braves? So I remember that series. You and I have watched that game together before. Obviously you know this, but I have that entire series on disc, like 10 feet away from me. I'm looking at it right now. So the next time you come out to Wisconsin, I have to hand this to you. And maybe we can block off a couple days and just watch 6 and 7. Have you ever had pizza? Have you ever enjoyed a pizza, Justin?
In my life, I have had a pizza or two. I've had a pizza or two with you.
And I of course knew that, but
you gotta let the people know.
We gotta let the people. We gotta make it seem like you and I are covering this for the first time ever. Balistreri's was one of the best pizzas we've ever shared in Wauwatosa, Wisconsin, USA.
100%.
What other memories come to mind? Like when I say Minnesota Twins, obviously 87, 91, but that was 30, 35 years ago. What else sticks out for you as a fan of the Twins? Do you have any favorite memories at Target Field in the last, 10, 15 years?
Unfortunately, there hasn't been a lot of strong memories the last, 20 plus years. I mean, unfortunately, we're pretty notorious right now for losing playoff games. I believe they've lost 18 straight playoff games.
Is that so? I wasn't even aware of that. I know the Yankees have their number.
Yeah, they I believe now own a dubious record for losing the most consecutive playoff games. It's amazing. You got to make the playoffs though to lose those games, but it's almost embarrassing at this point that you kind of figure, if they get in, it doesn't really matter at this point. But no, we've had some good times there. Gone to plenty of games with Andy, my brother, and my wife, and lots of other people. And it's a very nice stadium. If I have to say, I prefer one or the other. I prefer Miller Park, but
now
Target Field's all right.
Tell the viewers why you prefer Miller Park.
Well, Miller Park holds a dear memory to me and many others. But I did eat for the sausage cycle.
You not only ate for the sausage cycle, you were the first.
I believe I was the first.
Tell our viewers what the sausage cycle is.
And that's eating each of the sausages that are available at the stadium. And now, not only did I eat for the sausage cycle, but I did happen to knock out the sausage cycle in one full inning. Now, to be fair, it was a long inning. There was a lot of hits. There was multiple pitchers, but yeah.
So I want to. All right. So if you're watching this live, let me just explain what Justin just said. Justin Fefer consumed in one inning a hot dog, a brat, an Italian, a Polish, and a chorizo. Now, you'll have to remind me because I too have hit for that cycle. Did I hit it that same night with you, or was it?
I want to say it was a different night.
Okay, because I
it was a different night.
And then I had a heart attack not too long after that. So we're not advertising that you should do that. Don't do this at home. It's like Jackass. Like
don't try this at home.
And Steve-O handle the sausage eating. No, when I tell that story, I always make sure to remind people that you were the first, and that you did indeed do it in one inning. Now, we're not talking about like dunking the bread and
no.
This is just you ate 5 sandwiches. Does your wife know this?
She does. I'm not 100% certain that she will remember, at all possible moments. But if you were to bring it up, she would probably look away in disgust and say, I remember he told me that.
Was that too? Because we were at a game together the night Ryan Braun almost hit an inside the park homer. He stumbled around third, and then the screen showed Reggie Miller because I guess they're good friends. Was it that same night? Do you remember that?
I don't think it was that night, but yeah, that's wow. That's crazy. Yeah, I barely remember that.
I only remember that because we were in line to get food when it happened.
Yeah.
And I was, I was next in line, so I was trying to order, but then I was like, hey, it's Reggie Miller. What is Reggie Miller doing here?
Yeah, what is that?
And he's wearing a Braun jersey. Like, I don't understand. I still don't understand how they became friends. I guess I'll have to look that up.
Maybe California. I mean, I know.
Oh yeah,
Braun's from California. I think
Reggie
Miller maybe. But either way, it's a strange connection for sure.
Now, so there's one last thing I want to bring up, and you and I have talked about this a million times. And Andy's here tonight. I can see Andy's. We're going to get to Andy's comments here shortly, but one thing that is unique about you and I is I was born in 1975. You were born in 1982. And for whatever reason, I thought it was a good idea in 1984 to teach you how to swear. So I remember this like it was yesterday. I don't know why, but I think Andy was in the house, and you and I were you were 2 years old. I was 9, and we were sitting with our backs to the garage. And I just thought at that moment, how funny would it be to hear a 2-year-old say some of these words? And, and I've talked to my mom about this. She never specifically told me I shouldn't be teaching kids how to swear. So, if you're screening Beverly Hills Cop and Scarface, then I think it just becomes accepted. But I think it would make a great documentary at some point if myself and your mom sat face to face, and she can, because this was almost 40 years ago, and we can have like a little bit of an intervention where she can finally like talk to me about that, because I know she wasn't happy. I remember I got sent home because I think she said, "Where did you learn these words?" And you were just like, "Well, Joey, So the reason I'm bringing it up is that I know your brother's watching it. I'm very sorry. I should not have done that. I should not. But again, I was 9. I didn't know any better.
No, of course not. And I'm sure my mom would love to discuss that with you in the sense that I'm pretty positive I grew up with one of the dirtier mouths in
my fault.
in my circle of people.
It's my fault, but at the same time, maybe people love you because of it.
It's possible. It's possible. I know a second grade teacher that wouldn't agree, but as I had some words for her, but
and again, I feel terrible because that's my fault, and I don't know. Maybe I'm being too hard on myself. Anyway,
I would have learned them anyway.
You would have learned them anyway, and I was giving you a safe outlet.
Exactly.
All right.
Exactly.
All right. So we've come to the point in the show where we're going to tell these people watching today who's going to be representing your Minnesota Twins on a 2021 Utopian Diamond. And I enjoy this part of the show because this is where you tell me where I screwed up. And you know, just so everyone's aware, Justin is hearing these for the first time. This is live television. We're going to get some live reactions here. Now, before we get to the actual roster, we always like to kind of reveal some highlights for the schedule. And I will have you know, and you can see it on the bottom of your screen right now, that your 2021 Twins will open the season against the Los Angeles Dodgers at home. The Dodgers had the best record in the league last year. It's going to be Walter Johnson facing Sandy Koufax. Walter Johnson, of course, pitched for the Washington Senators, but that lineage belongs to the Twins. On Memorial Day, they're going to be at the Chicago White Sox. On Independence Day, they're going to be at home against Tampa. On Labor Day, they're going to be at Detroit. And then they're going to finish the season at the White Sox again. So 2 big series in Chicago on Memorial Day and to finish the season. I'd imagine you're going to be at that game, that Twins-Dodgers opening day. I've already sent you your tickets. You've got really good seats.
Wouldn't miss it for the world.
So who's going to be playing on that day for Tom Kelly's Minnesota Twins? I've got the lineup right here.
Well, first of all, at least you got Tom Kelly right.
Tom Kelly is the manager, and of course, all the Utopian managers have my personal phone number. And it wasn't even a text message. This was an actual phone conversation we had earlier today. This is what the Twins will look like on opening day versus the Dodgers. Leading off and playing second base, Rod Carew. He's the only member of this lineup, by the way, mentioned in an Adam Sandler song. Batting second and catching, Joe Mauer. Batting third, center fielder, Kirby Puckett. Maybe you've heard of him.
A time or two.
Batting cleanup, right fielder, Harmon Killebrew. The new first baseman for the Twins this year, Buck Leonard from the Negro Leagues. This is a huge getting one of the top 5 players in that league's history to anchor a pretty dangerous lineup on paper. Batting sixth will be left fielder Tony Oliva. Batting seventh, Gary Gaetti, playing a little third base. Shortstop on opening day will be Jorge Polanco. And then, as I mentioned, starting pitcher for the second straight year for the Twins, Walter Johnson. Now, what is your initial assessment? Did I get it right? Did I get it horribly wrong?
I feel like you've hit the nail on the head pretty well there. I mean, the only question I can think of is that there's no DH. I take it.
There is no DH in the Utopian Baseball Universe because when I was a kid, pitchers could rake. And and again, I don't want this to get too political.
Okay.
The reason the designated hitter was brought into the American League in 1973 was attendance for the American League was down and offense in the American League was down. And it was a gimmick that was only supposed to last a year or two, but then they kept it because of the players' union. And now I think at some point it's going to be a staple of both leagues just because it doesn't make sense now. When I was a kid, you had an American League president, a National League president. It's all under one umbrella now. So I don't know why we still have the 2 rules.
Right.
But I don't think there's any way to get rid of it now because of the union. Okay. But when I played, your pitchers hit third. Your pitchers would pitch 3 innings, play shortstop. So I don't use the designated hitter, but anyone that's still on this roster that maybe is not starting on that day is going to get plenty of pinch hit appearances because of the National League rules that we use in the Utopian Baseball Universe.
Got it.
Let's look at the rest of the position players that made the 2021 team. And again, if you're watching now and you don't see your favorite, there's a good chance they were on the roster last year, and there's a very good chance we'll see them in future years. But for 2021, we've got Mitch Garver. We've got Justin Morneau. Chuck Knobloch. The K is silent. Miguel Sano. Greg Gagne. Byron Buxton. Goose Goslin. And Sam Rice. Now, those last 2 names are Washington Senators. I've already been told, where's Torrey Hunter? Torrey Hunter was on the team last year. A lot of what dictates the next year's roster is how people did the prior year. And it just so happens, fate would have it, that Torrey Hunter had one of the lower batting averages in all of the Utopian last year. He was one of like 3 players that was under 200. So he doesn't make the roster this year. It doesn't mean that he won't be a part of it in the future. He belongs to this Twins franchise. But what do you think of some of these names we've just introduced here?
Again, I mean, I'm super happy with it. Justin Morneau, definitely a strong guy off the bench there. I'm kind of pleased to not see a Kent Herbeck on the roster.
And tell us why.
My own personal reasons. I believe the man is a solid representation of a baseball player, but a little overrated in my mind.
Kent Herbeck, another player that he was on the team last year, but bringing in Buck Leonard. So, like, if a gun to your head, who would you rather have playing first base for you? One of the top 5 Negro League players of all time, Buck Leonard, or Kent Herbeck?
I'm going to go with Buck.
Buck Leonard. Let's look at what that starting pitching is going to look like in 2021. Walter Johnson getting the start on opening day. We've got Johan Santana, Bert Blyleven, and then the Twins are going to start a series with the Angels after the Dodgers series, and then we've got Frank Viola, Kente Medea, and then Walter Johnson getting a second start against the Angels. And then Brad Radke and Jim Cotter there. If anyone goes down or if anyone struggles, they've got a couple options there. Scott Erickson is having some off-the-field issues right now, so we're going to give him the year off. He pitched last year. He kind of struggled for a last-place team, so we're going to give Scott Erickson a year off to figure things out. And the bullpen here, we've got Joe Nathan, Rick Aguilera, Tyler Duffy, Eddie Guardado, Glenn Perkins, LaTroy Hawkins, and Ron Davis. Any glaring omissions from the pitching staff?
No Francisco Liriano.
So Liriano is a member of the Pirates in the Utopian Baseball Universe.
Okay.
I think one of the reasons is that was one of the teams that I think was harder to find 7 quality pitchers for, which is weird because that team goes back to like the 1800s. Yeah. And I'm sure at some point, I'll like my friend Jamie Howell, who we had on a couple nights ago, he'll probably tell me 30 pitchers that are better than him. So we'll make some changes as we go along here. We've got a lot of comments and questions. So a lot of them are from someone you know. He looks just like you. He looks like me. He looks a little bit like your dad, a little bit like your mom. His name is Andrew Fefer. Mm-hmm. So he said that you were born with a beard. Is this true?
I have picture representation that proves otherwise.
Yes, and I have one of those pictures. By the way, not to I'll probably make you blush here, that you, along with your father and Andrew, have some of the finest mustaches. Like, I mean, Hall of Fame worthy mustaches. Like Keith Hernandez sees your mustache and he nods his cap.
Yeah, I've heard that a time or two, and when I do let the mustache just roam by itself, I get some pretty good comments. Now, personally, I don't know how long I can do that without feeling a little odd, but
I would love to give your mustache its own show at some point, where just the mustache is interviewing people, because I think it's Hall of Fame. Andy also says that you give the fantasy team juice in capital letters.
Okay, man.
He also wants to remind you that the Packers are your heritage and don't deny it. My friend Tim, who we had on last night, has a question for you. How do you feel about Stan Ross?
Stan Ross. Jeez. It's going to be tough to play Stan Ross.
I don't know who Stan Ross is. Who is Stan Ross?
Stan Ross.
Tim, who's Stan Ross? We're going to, if you're still watching, who is Stan Ross? I feel embarrassed that I don't know who Stan Ross is.
Baseball Stan Ross?
We'll find out later, or if Tim's watching, we'll get to that comment here. So Tim also said Morris Smoltz, again, a classic. Andy rooted for Atlanta. Let's see. He claims that you can put down some pizza. Yes. Yes. Now, someone here, again, they didn't give permission to use their name, so I'm just going to read this word for word. I think we need all baseball fans, the fans, and local league are not like it used to be. The fields are empty. We need to be kind to Yankee fans. I can't make that out. We'll find out who it's from. I don't know. I'm not sure, but there's an opinion there.
There is, and let me tell you, the amount of times the Yankees have beaten the Twins, I'm not going to be too kind about the Yankees anytime soon.
So Tim is calling you now that he knows that you hit for the sausage cycle. He's calling you the Joey Chestnut and Kobayashi of Miller Park.
Pillars to stand beside.
Andy claims that we're going to have a hard time getting your mom on camera for this intervention.
That he's probably right.
And he's not sorry that I did that. I feel bad. Again, I taught a 2-year-old how to swear. I'm torn. I feel terrible, but at the same time, I think it's my legacy. Tim says Roy Smalley needs to be on the team. Roy Smalley was on last year's team. He is property of the Minnesota Twins. I think the reason I left him off was the Twins were the second worst team in the league last year, and they were like 29th in batting. So I just gave him a little bit of upgrade at shortstop with Polanco. But good point, Tim. And he says Big Train going to get nasty on opening day. He's referring to Walter Johnson.
Walter.
Some people are so Tim and Andy do not like the Kent Herbeck omission from the team. Justin and Andy's blaming you, saying that you got Herbeck tossed from the roster. And Tim is asking about Tim Bernansky. Bernansky was on the team last year, but again, it was so unbalanced. I think I had 9 outfielders for the Twins, and Goslin and Rice, I believe, were Hall of Famers, so we went with them. Andy says it's rigged. Tim says that the Twins have good pitching in the top 4. They definitely do.
I take it Jack Morris is a Tiger.
He is a Tiger. He was the Cy Young last year of this Utopian. He had the best year for a starting pitcher last year. Okay, I think that's about it. We've a couple of Bernie Mac references. And Tommy Midro says he never liked Kirby Puckett. I love Kirby Puckett. Kirby Puckett, so I was at the orthodontist the day Kirby Puckett became like the first $3 million player in the big leagues.
Okay.
That was breaking news as I was entering the orthodontist office in 1988 or whenever that was. Justin, we're going to have you on again at some point this year, I'm sure. If the Twins are doing good things, I like to just call people up and say, hey, you got a 6-7 game winning streak. Let's talk about tonight's game. So I want to thank you for being on tonight. Give me 2 seconds. I have something to show you real quick.
Yeah.
All right, here they are. I don't know if you can see that.
Yes.
The actual discs. All 7 discs are in here, clean as a whistle.
Oh, I can't wait.
Here we go. And then Tim, if Tim is still watching, I found my long gone. It's pretty dusty, but they on my edition they spelled it right. He showed his last night and said gong, G-O-N-G.
Well, if we're gonna do show and tell, I can let me see if I can pull something Twins related.
And the Stan Ross explanation. Andy said Stan Ross was the main character in Mr. 3000. Yes, he was.
What is that, Mr. 3000 or
That's
Mr.
right.
Baseball?
I forgot about that. I was actually at the Mr. 3000 taping the night he got hit $29.99, which was a homer.
Oh wow!
We were there for 3 hours. I had 2 hot dogs, and I did not care for the movie, but I was a part of it.
I have too many tickets here to go through, as you can see.
Look at that.
But I do have a Game 6 1991 World Series ticket here.
We need to get you an album for those.
And I do have several other Twins tickets, but if I find it, I'll take a picture and post it to the site. Oof.
So no matter what a person done, you gotta know how to bring the people back.
If anyone's watching us and not watching American Idol, just a little spoiler, there's a gentleman crying. There it is. Now, how did you get that into your hands?
So my father was supposed to go to that game, and I'm pretty positive that he was not allowed to go to that game. I'm not exactly sure why.
Did he have a haircut scheduled?
He did not have a haircut scheduled, but I'm pretty positive that our mother was behind him right going to this game. So I have an unused 1991 ticket.
And it looks like it's in mint condition.
It's clearly not torn.
Now, your brother's saying that they went to that game.
Oh, did they? Okay, maybe they went and had one extra ticket that they didn't go to, that they didn't use. Now, maybe I'm confusing that because I know he was supposed to go to the Super Bowl when I was there in it must have been 91 or 92.
Was that the Redskins or
Redskins Bills,
right? Yeah.
And he was not allowed to go to that because we were having a Super Bowl party at the house.
You can't waste all those crackers and cheeses.
And so my dad did not go to the Super Bowl. But no, maybe they did go to the game and they got an extra ticket stub for me somehow. But yeah, this is pretty pristine, right?
You know what? I'm gonna tomorrow. I'm gonna find you a nice little binder for those tickets so you can display them.
I've got a box full.
I know, we need to put those in something. Well, Justin, I want to thank you for being on. Again, you are the only human that I've ever met that I've known their entire life. So you're like a brother to me. You and your brother are like family to me. Just for the record, too, my application is still pending to become the third Fefer brother, but in this pandemic, you know, it's not, you know, vaccines first, wear a mask, then notarize my documents.
It takes a little extra time.
I think one of the holdups too is that, you know, Andy's been the oldest brother, and then, you know, do I become the oldest, or do I have to, like, you know, it's a brand. So he's the oldest, you're the youngest. Do I have to become the middle?
I think that makes Andy the middle.
Well, I don't know, because I mean, he and you are something that I am not, and you guys are Hall of Famers. So I think you guys should hold on to that top billing, and I could be like the, you know, like when Terry and Dory Funk brought in Jimmy Jack Funk in the '80s. You know, they only did that because Terry had a sore ankle, and when he came back, there was no more Jimmy Jack Funk. So, so the application is pending, but and then, you know, your
better
mom
a funk than a funk houser.
Yeah, and then, you know, your mom might block it anyway because of me teaching you how to swear. But I want to thank Justin for being my guest tonight. One of my favorite shows. Again, we go back almost 40 years. Tomorrow night, I've got another really old friend of mine, Greg Maternowski, is going to be my guest for the Montreal Expo show, and we might have a surprise guest. I'm not gonna tell you who it is yet because it is a surprise, and we're working on getting another guest for tomorrow. We got some great shows coming up this week. Rick Lenenberg's going to be on Tuesday. I've got Mark Weber from Eternal Baseball on Wednesday night. Houston Astros on Thursday. I've got a Cubs show coming up. Multiple guests for that show. I've got all sorts of things coming up here. For Justin Fefer, the star of the show tonight, I'm Joey Buckholz. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you tomorrow at 7 o'clock. Take care.
Thank you.